Hey guys, I'm here to talk to you about Desmos, especially since some of you have been asking about it. So if you just go to www.desmos.com, click here, you want to go ahead and click on the Start Graphing button. Before I do, um, this is a better calculator than your TI-84s or TI-83s, in my opinion. It has a much bigger screen and it's a lot more user friendly and you can blow it up, on a bigger screen. And it's real easy to zoom in and out, which is why I really like it. And it's a great way to reinforce writing different types of math equations. You can also analyze or plot scatter plots on there and analyze them. And, it's primarily intended for students, but let's go ahead and get started here. So this is the main screen. Let me go ahead and sign out here so you can see the original screen. So you can work on this without creating an account. However, you can't save your graphs unless you create an account. So you want to go ahead and click on this green button and fill out the information. I'm going to go ahead and sign into mine. And you want to give your project a title, so you can title it anything you want. I'm going to go ahead and do, a linear line. And right here is your keypad for typing in your equations. However, you can also use your keypad, but it's really good to become familiarized with the symbols on here. Not all of them are located on the main screen here. But you've got some on this as well. These brackets will become really important. I go back to here, there's also this button here called functions, and this has all your trig stuff on it. And then we've got our stats, and then miscellaneous. This is good to know because I have my students type in cube root functions, and so they need this button, and they could, they can't ever find it. So it's over here on the miscellaneous. Again, it's functions and miscellaneous. You also have log, and goodness, you've got integrals that you can do. But there's a lot of different things you can do. I'm going to focus on linear art though, for one thing. So I do a linear art project in my class, and this is a really good tool to reinforce writing linear equations as well as restricting the domains. So let's just type an equation here. Again, you can do it from here or your keyboard. So if I type in y and then equals, let's just type in 2x. Put a linear line in here for me. So when I have this linear equation here, I have some options. So I love this button right here. It's the edit list. If I click on that, I can change the color of that line to any of these colors listed. Can also change the look of the line, make it dotted or dashed. And under this edit list, I can also duplicate it right here. And I can also convert it into an in and out table. So just to kind of give you an example here of restricting a domain, let's say that I want to make this line start at -2 on the x-axis. So I want it to start here. I don't want this part showing. So what I would need to do is go to the squiggly bracket. You must use this bracket to be able to restrict the domain. So if I click on that and I type in -2, then I also need my inequality symbol. So if I go back to this 1, 2, 3 button, I'll click on this inequality symbol, and then I can type in my x, and then this, I'll need another inequality symbol because I want to make sure that it starts here, but let's say that I want it to, let me zoom back in. So here's your zoom and zoom out. That way it's scaled by 1 here. So at -2, and let's say that I want it to stop on the x-axis at 1. So then I would have to come back here, put in another inequality symbol, and then type in a 1. So now I have restricted this line. It starts here and ends here. So I want to give you a student example here. Before I do, it's always good to save your work. So hitting this green button. And if I come over here, this is where all of your saved things go to. So here's all my saved graphs, the one I just did. And then this one down here is an example of a student project or completed project. So here's all their equations and all their lines restricted. And sometimes when they send me this or when they print it out, it's not scaled by 1s and it's really hard for me to grade. And sometimes, you know, zooming in, so now this is scaled by 1s, but zooming in, let's say that it doesn't, sometimes it won't print out the whole picture on the printer because it's too big. So then this tool right here is a great way to change the scale, make it more compressed. So the step is what you want it to go up by. So I always say let's go up by 1s. And this is for your x-axis, so going horizontally, and then your y-axis going vertically. And then if you notice, the farthest part of the graph or the picture on the left-hand side is at -7. So let's say we want this to start at -8 and then go to, let's see, by the way, if you click, you can drag this. It goes all the way to 8 on the right side. So if we make that go, I'm going to change this again, say -8 to +8. And then, let's see, -15. This is going up and down now. So now this is now zoom out. Yes, it's a little kind of, it's skewed, but at least we can get it printed out on printer paper. It won't cut it off. So there's that toolbar. And then let's say that you want it to go back to the original dimensions that the program has it set at. Then if you hit this button right here, the default zoom, it'll bring it back to normal. So this falls under ISTE T.2a, where students, you know, are doing creative things with digital tools. But one other thing that I like to do with Desmos is making a scatter plot. So if we come over here, again, let me show you. So coming back over here to the open graphs, you can click on a new blank graph up here at the top. And let's say that I want to put or make a scatter plot of data from like an experiment. So what you would need to do here is you would want to put in the actual points. So we want the parenthesis button instead. So I'm going to go ahead and put in the origin 0, 0. And if you hit this button or enter on your keyboard, it'll take you to the next one. And then let's say my next point I want to do is 1, 1. And then hit the enter button on your keyboard or this little button here. And keep going. I'm going to type in 2, 2. And then 3, 2.5. 4, 3.2. 6, 3.3. Oops. And 5.8, comma, 3.7. So I've got this scatter plot of data here. And what you can have your students do is fit an equation to this scatter plot. So my students learn a selection of nonlinear functions, about 5 of them, and then linear. And they might look at this and think, well, this looks a lot like the square root functions. So let me zoom out here. So they can come in here and fit an actual equation to their data and analyze this. So if they think it's the square root function, then they can go ahead and type in the square root button here. And notice that it's a little lower. So at this point, they've learned how to make this graph shift from the parent graph. So to make it stretch vertically, they could put a 1 out in front, or not a 1, but like a 2. That's a little too much, so maybe 1.5. And that fits pretty nicely. And they can keep experimenting with this until they get an equation that fits the best. One thing to keep in mind, this plus sign right here can, it's very easily for this plus sign to get plugged in under the square root, which obviously sort of shifts it to the left. So to not make it underneath the square root symbol, you've got to make sure that you hit this little arrow button again, or you can use the arrow button on your keyboard. So if I click that, then it puts me outside of the square root symbol. So this goes right along with ISTE S.5.B, where students collect data and they use digital tools to analyze them and problem solve and use decision-making skills. So that's really all I have for you. I hope you enjoyed this and take some time to look into Desmos, especially if you're a math teacher.